is a large stick that I found that I'm going to use for my Linguist staff. So this is a good height for maybe a 6 or 7 or 8-year-old, a little bit too small for me. But you can find whatever size stick you like out in your neighborhood or out walking. I found this one at Herman Park. We've sent a couple of different fun things that you can use for decorating, like yarn and pipe cleaners, but don't be limited to that stuff. You can really be as creative as you like. So I'm going to wrap this around my stick. Let's take a minute to talk about what a Linguist staff is. So in Ghana, in West Africa, a person called an Okiyami is a high-ranking advisor to the ruler or the king of the group. This person, the Okiyami, would have a Linguist staff. It was usually a beautiful, magnificent, gold-covered staff, and it served as an insignia or a symbol of their position. Now, the reason they were called a linguist, the Okiyami was called a linguist, is because the staff that they held was often seen as their linguist staff. So their most visible role was to be an intermediary between the ruler and those who seek his counsel. So that means if somebody needs to come and speak to the ruler, speak to the king or queen, they would come and talk to the Okiyami, who would then go and relay the message to the ruler and then come back and transmit the king's response, often with a poetic or a metaphorical embellishment. This is why the top of their linguist staff is often decorated with a sculpture of an animal that represents a proverb. The beautiful image that we sent home on your worksheet is the linguist staff we have in the museum's collection, and the top of it is a group of birds. The proverb is, "Birds of a feather flock together." This is a common proverb that you can think about and talk to your family about, and as you work on your staff today, and think about what that proverb means. Birds of a feather flock together. So for making our bird, we are going to take about 3 pieces of aluminum foil. The first piece I'm going to shape into a head and a beak. Aluminum foil is awesome for sculpting because it's very forgiving. You can bend it and mold it and push it into different designs, and you don't have to worry too much about how perfect it is. And it's also very light, so it's a great tool for practicing sculpture. Here is my head and my beak. The squeezer, the tighter you squeeze it, the smaller it gets. So if you want your bird to have more volume, don't squeeze it too tightly. But in places where you do want it to have smaller and more precise sculpting, then you squeeze it. So the beak, I'm squeezing a little tighter to bring it all in and push the air out and give it a nice shape for a beak. Now this section I'm going to leave sort of round and big to make the head for my bird. The next part I'm going to attach onto the neck is kind of the tummy and the tail of my bird. So I'm wrapping it around the neck here, keeping it nice and round for some volume, and then I'll squeeze the tail a little bit smaller, like this. So I made it kind of a U shape to make the skeletal shape of the bird. And I still have my beak there and my head. Now the last thing I'm going to add are wings. So for the wings, I'm going to bend this into more of a rectangle, a long rectangle, and wrap it around the bottom. Oh, actually on this guy I'm going to go across the top. Go across the top of his back and sort of gently squeeze his wings together. And the nice thing about aluminum foil is that it adheres to itself pretty well with some squishing and pushing. So here comes the other wing, and I'll give it a more pointed tip. And I have my bird now that I can attach to the top of my staff. Here I'm covering my sculpture with gold tinfoil. So gold foil is used to represent the gold leaf that was often, real gold leaf that was often used to cover the sculptures on the top of a linguist staff. Artists would use gold leaf or silver leaf. So gold represents status, and it represents a high-ranking official. And also, gold is important along the west coast of Africa. It's actually an important zone where gold was found, and that's why it's often referenced as the Gold Coast. The final step for our project is to attach your sculpture to the top of your linguist staff. So luckily, the foil that we've used is very moldable. What I'm doing here is just pressing the bird down onto the top of the staff. I made a little groove in the bottom of the bird, and I just pressed it onto the top of the stick. The next thing you're going to do is take another sheet or two of the gold foil and use that to wrap around the bottom of the sculpture and the top of the staff to connect the two of them. So it may take 2 or 3 pieces. So here we go. We're going to press the bird down and then reach for that other piece of foil, connect the bird to the top of the staff, and make sure that you just press it down gently so that it fits the shape of the bird. You can use tape if you want to, but I managed to get it on without using tape. If you have a little artist, tape will probably hold it on better and secure it while they're walking around with it. This one I managed to get on just with wrapping 2 or 3 sheets of foil.